Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I'm your host, Shad Garber, and here with me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And yeah, we're a day late. Thankfully, not $1 short. But yeah, I was just like sneezing and sick yesterday, so I was like, I already had problems with doing the podcast once like that. I don't want to do it again. It took me forever to freaking edit out all that. So
Plus, my power has been like pretty spotty lately. So
yeah, that's not helpful. You definitely need that to be able to do a podcast, let alone play video games, which we have been doing. I got to play a significant amount of Wanted Dead from the makers of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive, so I'll talk about that. Played some of that Trial of Wild Hearts. We'll talk about that as well, and we'll also talk about that dreaded, not sure how true it is, report from GamesIndustry.biz about Xbox Game Pass cannibalizing sales, Diablo 4 getting a beta, the Friaxis issues, and some of the things here right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Yes, and well, thank you for joining us here if you're watching live. Normally we record on Sundays around 6 p.m.-ish Eastern time. But again, we're coming to you at that time on Mondays for this week anyway. And if you can't watch live, obviously everybody's busy. You can go do that on our YouTube channel, W2 Network. Find us there. And not only do you get what we do here at Video Games to the Max, we do entertainment stuff. So the Ant-Man Quantumania review will be up pretty soon, I'm sure. The Rathers are Broadcasting guys are usually pretty up to date on all the movies that come out. They even did 2023 Oscars, like how all those movies stacked up and everything. And not only that, you get metal music, you get anime show reviews, you get MMA stuff. So lots of stuff here. If you subscribe to the channel, if you just wanted to listen to what we have to say about video games, you can do that on Video Games to the Max, on podcast feeds, anywhere there are podcasts, pretty much you can find us. And also, always want to mention Jens, who was on with us last week. Him and Randy have the Chapter Select, which is also on the network, or you can go subscribe to Chapter Select. And they've been reviewing The Last of Us HBO show, which I haven't watched the latest episode. I meant to do that last night and I fell asleep. But they've been keeping up to date with us. So if you want to listen or watch their thoughts on everything going on with the HBO show, you can watch that, watch their thoughts on there. So let's get going here. I guess we might as well start with I guess it's not the biggest game that has come out in this week of lots of games coming out, but it's one that I got a code for, so always happy to play things when they are able to send us a code. And it's cool because I'm a big fan of Ninja Gaiden and a big fan of Dead or Alive. So I was like, well, you got developers from both those games working on this. If you don't remember last year, I said I was kind of disappointed with that Ninja Gaiden collection. And I wouldn't say that this is in that realm, but this is definitely one of those games that I'm going to just hit you with the rating, and I think you'll kind of get the idea. It's a 6 or 7 game. It's not, oh my God, go out and play this kind of game right now. But I think if you like games that are just go around and kill things and turn your brain off and you don't have to think about it too much, this is a game like that. Is there a lot to look at when you're battling and when you're actually doing the combat? Not really. Is half the combat kind of doesn't work? Yeah, I wouldn't really go around shooting people. It's not the best shooting mechanics. You can tell that these people that are making this game, shooting mechanics are not their best forte, I would say. The slashing and using the katana and other things is much better. I wouldn't say it's perfect. Yeah, like the thing is that this game is just kind of like it's almost like if you took Gears of War and tried to smash it with Ninja Gaiden. So you have like a bunch of guys, your one character, which is named Hannah, and they're part of like a troop that are all came out of jail for I can't remember exactly what reason. And basically you're kind of assigned to the riot squad. They call it the zombie squad. I guess you can equate it to like Suicide Squad, whatever you want to use. That makes you kind of get a picture. And your job is to kind of just take out the riffraff of people. And yeah, so I mean, I think it does that part well, but the thing is, like, a lot of it just kind of seems like, well, we did sort of the basics of that, and then yeah, the rest of it is kind of left for you to to kind of get the most fun out of it that you possibly can, based on that. It's just it feels like the shooting is kind of pointless because half the time it doesn't hit anybody. The slashing is much more keen, but the thing is that outside of like the ninjas and the bosses, the other enemies is really easy to tell when they're going to come hit you. So you can just easily block that, right? The thing that does make it fun is when you do get to fight those ninjas or whatever, you do kind of have to deal with, hey, there's people I got to worry about. I'm going to die here. And then it's not like one of those games where, oh, okay, if I die, it's not a big deal. They have this weird continue system. Like, did you know that the continue system still existed, but outside of fighting games, Mark? Because this game, like,
Yeah, I heard that was like one of the problems of the game. Is it's like pretty restricted.
Why? I don't understand why. Like, why on earth?
Old school feel.
No, but that's a bad old school feel. Like, it's just like they have an autosave that like you can die. I think it's like 2 times, and it drops you relatively close to where you died, right?
Yeah.
However, if you die more than those twice, it makes you do a game over. And then you start at essentially the beginning of the freaking level again. Which, why? Like,
I believe the rationale is get good.
No, but like, okay, the problem is that basically most of the main people that you go through, it's all, again, like I said, cover based. So you're basically going around everybody's cover and trying to, and that's kind of fun. You're like dashing through, trying to kill the grunts and then killing the sword based guys. And then, oh, well, some harder enemy might show up. You deal with that. If you don't die at the harder enemy, you're probably going to die at the boss trying to figure out the motions the first couple times. And if you do that, then you got to restart again. And it's like, you really took a lot of the oomph out of me wanting to try to beat this boss when you're making me have to play all or half the level again to get back to that, because I gamed over for no reason when every other game just uses an autosave.
Right.
And lets you come back at the last autosave, which makes more sense. I don't know. It's not an RPG where I really need to be worrying about having like a manual save kind of thing. I don't know. Like I said, I did have fun playing the game. Beating the bosses are actually pretty challenging. It's kind of difficult to figure out their patterns and everything else. And when you do beat them, it feels like you accomplish something, but the thing is, like, the story's kind of whatever. It has a lot of humor, which I appreciate. It's kind of almost tries to be Yakuza in a way, a little bit. Like, it will randomly, after every chapter, it randomly drops you into some type of rhythm mini game. So you'll go from your crazy character, crazy coworker, friend, a team member will tell you the history of ramen, and then you'll randomly start playing a rhythm game about eating ramen. And then the next one, you'll randomly start playing a karaoke about 99 left balloons. And I'm like, okay. But it's like that part I appreciate. It doesn't take itself seriously. So because a lot of the story doesn't make sense. It's kind of like just, I wouldn't say it's just there. It's just like, I don't know. It's one of those like B movie plots that I don't know anybody's gonna be talking about the story in this game, but it's just it's kind of gets you from point A to point B. But the stuff that stuck with me is like you go into the police station, which is like your central hub where you play around, and they had the mini games all there, so you can play like the crane game. You can go and do the rhythm games if you want, and then you could talk to a bunch of different people, and they all say the stupidest things. So I'm just like, okay, I think I'm like remembering a lot more about the police station than I am the game, which I don't know if that's to its detriment or not. But I think if you like, I think I look at like games that are like Black or things like that, that whenever this game drops in price, I wouldn't say pay $60 for it. Sorry, developers, but I gotta be honest here. Well, if this game drops to like, like if this game drops to like $30 or something, and you really want something to just have fun for, I don't know, like 8 or 10 hours, this is a good game for that. I think enjoyment's going to vary here, but I enjoyed it. Like I said, I think I'm going to wind up giving it a 7 when I write the review. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with liking 7 games. Look at Marc. A lot of people probably would have given Forspoken less. So, and he's enjoyed it. He platinumed the game now. So,
yeah,
you kind of gave your final thoughts last time. Is there anything outside of getting a trophy that you?
Well, I pretty much broke the game. There's like one spell in like the last like School of Magic, the air magic one, or like lightning magic that like I spent the last 10 hours of the game just using that exclusively, unless I like really had to change because it destroys everything. And I was so broken, and my character was like so broken at that point that nothing could touch me. And you can also you know how games have accessibility options.
Yeah.
This game has some like baffling ones that are like hilarious because it's like one is like auto evade, which makes combat completely trivial. Like it doesn't even use stamina. Like it just automatically does it. Like he doesn't run out, so you just constantly do it.
Right.
And the only annoying thing is like you can still get knocked out of your attack animation or attack charging. But that's about it. So I didn't use a health potion the last the last 10 hours of that game either because I didn't need to.
Right? Yeah. No, definitely don't.
Well, yeah, it's okay. I put 60 hours in that game, so.
Hey, man, definitely. You got your time in it. You platinumed it.
It's funny you're talking about that. Wanted Dead game. Because Yen, like a week ago, Jens is really excited to play it, and he even pre-ordered the collector's edition.
Wow!
And then the reviews came out, and then he canceled the pre-order.
Yeah,
I think he saw the IGN one, and that was a 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
and then I linked him to the PC Gamer one, and that was a 4 out of 10. So he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I think PC Gamer was a little bit too harsh or whatever.
Yeah.
Look, it's not a pretty game. It's not a game that you're going to put on and go, "Oh, wow, this looks amazing." It's a game that you're just putting on to play, slash some people. Like I said, don't shoot anybody because it may not hit anyone. The skill tree is very mediocre, I would say. It's like there's stuff locked behind the skill tree that's kind of like, why are you locking a dodge roll behind the skill tree? Like, shouldn't that just be there at the beginning? But right. Sure. Whatever, why are you locking the being able to do an attack after I parry behind the skill tree? But it is what it is. Like, sometimes they're like these AA games. That's what they are, and that's totally fine. So this, going from there to another, that it's not necessarily, I guess it's more AAA because of the people involved, right? It's not under their AAA label. It's under the EA Originals label. I'm talking about Wild Hearts here. It's actually a production between EA, Koei Tecmo, and Omega Force, who they're known for the Warriors games, Dynasty Warriors, Fire Emblem, all that stuff. So I played the EA Play trial, which if you have the Game Pass Ultimate, you can play it without having to buy anything. You can also just buy a month of EA Play, I guess, and also get to play the trial as well. I think when you're talking about like Monster Hunter clones, which there have been quite a few recently, like Dauntless was one that one was free to play, but it lasted for a bit. And maybe still out there. I'm not big on pay attention too much to what goes on with the free to play scene, but this game tries a lot in mimicking Monster Hunter and then also having things that make it different from Monster Hunter. The main thing that you'll probably see if you're watching the video is the katakuri, which is like the people have been making comparisons to, this is like Monster Hunter meets Fortnite, because the katakuri is the building part, where you build these objects and then they help you either get around the map, or they help you provide cover, or they help you allow to have like things to jump off of at the enemies, because a lot of their weak points are like behind their back or something like that. So it's easier for you to just make one of those and then jump off it. You can make a zip line all throughout certain areas, so you can like zip line back to certain places too. So like the katakuri element of it is actually really good. I found that was really fun. And then there's different kinds of katakuri as well. So like you can build ones that are called like the dragon one, which is like ones that you build in your like camp area that also allow you to like, let's say, cook or craft things or whatever. So like I found it like very interesting. And then also the combat feels like a bit more actiony than say Monster Hunter, which Monster Hunter feels like, I haven't played a ton of Monster Hunter, but what I have.
No, it feels like you're in like molasses,
Yeah, Monster Hunter is very methodical, right? Yeah. It wants you to grab one. Monster Hunter basically wants you to be the best at a certain weapon, right? And then you keep building on that. Like this game actually allows you to kind of just, you can be good at one or two or three, and find that one that works best for you. You're always probably still going to go towards the best one that works for you, right? But I felt like it wasn't so, oh my God, rigid and okay, you got to pick this one and that's the one for you. And like this felt more actiony. Like you could definitely tell that there's the elements of, oh, these are the guys who make the Warriors games. Like, yeah, it's not a cake. No, I mean, these enemies, the kimono, are definitely difficult. I definitely died a few times figuring out how to beat them and whatever. But it didn't feel as like punishing where, and in this game also, they definitely do want you to play co-op as well. Because you can actually, you have a moment when you're I didn't get to play co-op. This is from reading other stuff, that if a character dies that's playing with you, they have a moment where you can revive them. Whereas if you die by yourself, then you're wasting one of your 3 lives that you have. So that's something that you gotta like go through as well. If you want to play by yourself, you certainly can. But obviously, just like Monster Hunter, it's better with friends. I love the like building stuff part of it, as far as just like adding a different element than just like, okay, we got to figure out the strategy of how to beat this thing. Like this allows you to have a different type of strategy that you can do by yourself. And then also like the monsters themselves obviously have their patterns that you go after and try to figure out. They have a lot of fake out ones that they do. And like, I think if you're watching the video, there's this like umbrella katana thing that's like awesome to use. So
right,
I would recommend people using that. If you're starting out, it's a really great like weapon it's one of the first ones you get. So, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like the best looking game out there, but it does its job. And like all the different things that you can do in it, I think it's definitely one of those, like the fact that they're adding in free updates and adding in free stuff, I think that will get a lot of people playing and maybe sticking with it longer than if you had to be paying for DLC constantly when it's a new IP. So yeah, I don't know that I would buy the game necessarily because I got, other things that are coming out in this week that I gotta buy. But if you're someone that likes these games and you have the money to put down, I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah,
I think you're gonna enjoy it for sure. I don't know how much interest you have. I know you like.
No, I saw a few trailers. I mean, it looks okay, but unless I had like Jens playing with me or at least someone else, then probably forget it.
Right? Yeah. I mean, obviously the online works way better than like the Capcom's Monster Hunter.
It couldn't work. It couldn't work. Worse.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my thoughts on those 2 games. Have you been playing anything else besides Forspoken?
I mean, I played through most of Super Mario World when I didn't have power for a day. That's about it.
Hey, that's it's still one of our favorite games ever. So
yeah,
it's still great.
Yep. Holds up.
I feel like I think you have it, right? The Super Mario Maker 2.
Yeah.
Have you tried playing any of that Super Mario 5 or whatever that guy made?
Nope.
Yeah, I heard that's like almost just like having another Mario.
Okay, cool.
Like if I were you, I would like download it because I think it looks really good. Every time I've seen everybody that talks about it said that they enjoy it. Like they wish that Nintendo would have made it themselves. But yeah, so let's go on with the news here. So Marc, how excited are you about there being a new Civ game happening?
Moderately. I really liked Civ 5 when it first came out, and they added DLC, which I didn't like the changes. And then I played Civ 6, and I really didn't like that one. So I guess we'll see.
Why? Okay, so I think I remember this. I think we had Daniel on the pod at the time as well, and I think he winded up like liking it a lot more than you. And what was it that like you didn't necessarily like?
In Civ 6, they basically wanted you to have like just one main city and kind of just expand that out slowly. But I always like those games when you have like multiple cities and you manage them all at the same time. So like you can have like one focused on research or one focused on production or economy or something like that. And you really couldn't do that in Civ 6. I mean, you could to an extent, but it really was pared down from what it was in like the past 2 games. So you just had this like huge looking city as like your main city, and that's about it. You have like 1 or 2 satellite cities, and that's it. And I also don't like the over reliance now on like religion in that game. Like it just feels like tacked on.
So why would you need to be reliant on religion in the game?
Well, I mean, like they just, the AI will just like keep converting your citizens to, their theocracy or their religion. So you just keep getting these constant notices like, oh, a prophet has come to your city, or a shepherd or whatever, and converted more of your citizenry. And it's like, I just want to turn this off, or I don't.
Yeah, right.
I don't care that much. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
But it's still, Civ 6 is still more or less okay, but I just think Civ 5 is still making a much pure, focused game.
All right. So you hope that it goes back to what you liked about Civ 5?
It'd be nice, yeah. I mean, Civ 6 still got like good reviews, but yeah, I just think Civ 5 was better.
I mean, as somebody that likes their games and you like XCOM and all that, I mean, what do you think about the changes that happened at Friaxis? Basically, they announced this and then also announced that some major parts of Friaxis are leaving. So, like XCOM director Jake Sullivan and studio head Steve Martin are leaving. Heather Hazen is now going to be the Friaxis chief operating officer to replace Martin. Jake Sullivan basically said that he left on good terms. That
that can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll see with the next game. I mean, if the changes are good or bad. I mean, it's probably too late. Also, I mean, we'll see. But I still have relative faith in that studio. They just need to kind of like. They seem to want to nickel and dime people a lot of the time, and I don't know if that's good or bad.
I mean, I don't know that's 2K in general, right?
Yeah, it's not like microtransactions per se, but they release a bunch of DLC for their games.
Right.
Some of it's good, some of it's bad. That's kind of the problem. Or like that awful XCOM 2 or that XCOM
Chimera thing.
Yeah, it got me a code for, and I was like, "This is terrible." And even XCOM 2 wasn't as good as the first XCOM. So
right.
So yeah, maybe some new blood will help that studio out.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you can have those executives around too long if they're not producing. Yeah. And when you're not ready to pull say, okay, let's switch things up here. And it's totally understandable. Some people want to leave, that they don't want to receive a demotion or they don't want to change what they're doing much. So they just go, okay, well, I'll head out the door. There seems to be a lot of talk about Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Yeah, I didn't play that. I don't think you did either.
No.
That game kind of threw people for a loop because I think they were just expecting XCOM Marvel, but they got Marvel playing card game instead. Or
right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people that like that game.
Yeah, I mean, it got good reviews. Like I can't crap on it or anything, but I mean, it's just like I wouldn't say it's deceptive like advertising, but it's just not what people expected or wanted, like per se.
I've also heard a lot of negatives about the writing as well. That's not great. Also, coming out December 2nd, maybe wasn't
right.
The
it came
best
out too late for
decision.
most Game of the Year stuff, or people tend to have a cutoff point of like December 1st or whatever.
I think it's not only the Game of the Year. I think it's for some people that are also like looking at it and going, okay, it's a Marvel game, but it's like, well, Black Friday already happened. Do we have a budget to buy some more games? Is this going to be on that list? And then, I think maybe you didn't, like you said, you didn't have enough people playing it. So like if you have like a buyer's guide come out or people recommending games, that's towards the end at that point. So you don't have people going, oh man, you got to play Marvel's Midnight Suns. I just started playing it like a week ago. I don't know what to tell you yet, so that does make a difference when you get around the holidays. Like, what games are people playing to be able to say, okay, I definitely tell you to play this.
Right.
You know, word of mouth is still important, even though we have all these different marketing vehicles out there. It does help when your friends tell you, hey, man, this game's great. Go play it or something.
Yeah.
Well, we go from Friaxis having some troubling times to another company, Blizzard, which never seems to get out of its own way. First of all, I should note that they did have some good news, at least. Or, well, you hope it's good news when we finally get to play the game. Diablo 4 is getting a pre-order beta and a beta for everyone towards the late middle March, towards the end of March as well. So this was during IGN's like FanFest thing that March 17th through the 19th, you're going to get a pre-order beta. So if you pre-order I think it's like the Ultimate, or I don't know exactly which Ultimate and some other version of the game, you get that beta that's only for those players. And then everybody starting March 24th to the 26th is going to be able to play the beta of Diablo 4. It has no time limit. You can get up to level 25, which includes the prologue and most of the first act. And they don't specifically say if what you do in the beta is going to carry over. Probably not.
I doubt it, because they'll probably just wipe the server before they launch. Because I'm sure some exploit will be found in the beta testing that'll make someone like God tier or something. So
yep, you're right about that. That's exactly what I was going to say. They always find some kind of thing where they have to wipe it anyway, even if they do promise it. So, and if you get the Ultimate or Deluxe version, you can also get early access to the game on June 2nd, which that's pretty typical for games nowadays. So, hey, buy it and you get to play the game like 3 or 4 days early. So, I mean, I'm assuming you're going to want to play this.
If I can, I'll try to play it with Jens, but if not, I'll just play it by myself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know I'm going to, on PC, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if they're going to release it on consoles or it's just PC only. They haven't really said, have they?
No.
Is it just going to be on PC?
It'll probably be on PC only.
Yeah. I'm probably not even going to try, because every time I try to play something on a PC, it doesn't work.
You have a better laptop than I do, like
I don't know. It's just I don't know what it is. Like, even if I do that that thing where I use the NVIDIA processor, if it's not like 2D, it doesn't. Something ends up happening where it doesn't run right. So I kind of gave up on that, unless I'm playing like through the xCloud or something. But either way, that's cool that is happening for everybody that's excited about Diablo. That's definitely going to be a big game releasing in June, towards the beginning of it. And unfortunately for Blizzard, they are one of the few companies that, I guess not few. There's a lot of tech companies now that have decided to go, oh, hey, we're going to make you stop working from home, by the way.
That's only part of their problems, though. But yes.
But that's part of the problem. But it's exacerbated the whole reducing their profit sharing, that's pretty crappy. When you tell somebody, hey, you're getting this much from your bonus, and then
it's crappy when they go, oh, we had one of the best quarters ever. Now here's 58% of your bonus. Like, how does that work?
And then the other part is like Mikey Barrow's like, if you think that we're all just making the executives are the only ones making money here, you're lying to yourself. You guys are also making money here. Like,
this is all during basically like a Q&A where they already had the questions like pre-selected. So like no one was asking questions, because the question would have been, okay, what's your bank budget, or what's your bank account look like?
Right.
And then he would just walk off, or he wouldn't actually say.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like you said, their operating income and sales nearly doubled at a staggering 90% due to Warcraft, WoW, Overwatch, and Diablo, all generating more than 100 million in net bookings, which that's people playing the game. And it's crazy to me that that's what you're going to decide to do. And then when they look at like, oh, well, it's affecting executives too. We're losing. Well, what about the people on the bottom tier, right? Like the QA and
according to him, QA isn't a long-term job, so who can screw them?
Yeah, like QA is the McDonald's of gaming development. Like you should not. It's like the same people that go, well, we can't give McDonald's workers $15 an hour because you shouldn't want to work there. It's like, well, what about the people working there now that they don't really have an option to work there, whether they're too old or they're young and they haven't really gotten past high school yet or whatever. Like everybody has to make a living wage at this point. Like it's very difficult for you to live by yourself in a good area anymore. Like you need to live with people, whether it's your young adult kids, whether it's your other family. Like everybody's got to be making some kind of money. So yeah, they're making somewhere between $14 to $26 an hour, and whatever. But that's not look at the chief of staff salary, which is like upwards of $270,000 a year. I mean, that's a big freaking difference still. And when you take 58% of that bonus, that's not a joke, So I just find it, again, always tone deaf when we have these stupid conversations about executives saying something like that. Granted, it's not my money, but still.
Well, I mean, it's just going to introduce like even more brain drain at Blizzard. Like they have this Blizzard, Blizzard and like BioWare and a few other developers have this like real mentality of like, you should feel honored to work for us.
Right.
Or you should sacrifice us for your job. And it's like, I mean, at one point that might have been right, or it might have been more accurate, but not anymore. Like Blizzard hasn't had a good launch since like StarCraft 2.
Yep, that's true.
So it's like it's not like your stock is like great right now. So I mean, yeah.
I think also like when you look at it from the work from home perspective, that adds cost to people. Yeah. Right? So like now you're commuting. So for me, like when they announced it, now I'm having to drive 45 minutes to work. Before I was just going into the room and turning on my computer, so.
Also, like I think there's like some Overwatch 2, I think a voiceover director or maybe a writer. Yeah. I think that was it. And he was like, I've never worked at the company, or I never set foot on their campus because I've always been work from home. He's like, I got tired 2 years ago. Like, why the fuck should I have to move out there and, go to their office when I can easily do my job at home?
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole like, oh, well, we don't want to have to pay you this, and we don't want to have to. I mean, because also there's that whole, depending on where you live, you get paid, what, not just where you live, but also, oh, well, you don't have to commute, so we're going to cut some of your salary and whatever. So there's a lot of logistics. Also, somebody's got to pay for that office that they all have. So
that's the thing is like, what's more costly, like the whole working from home or working from office? And it's like working at the office is more expensive because you have to take care of the fucking building, like get rid of that, and that'll free up some money, or
right, like that whole we're gonna pay to move you thing. That I saw Walmart was doing because they cut like 3 of their warehouse hubs or something. It's like, I mean, they were doing their job from home just fine. Like, why do they have to move, uproot everything? We're not talking about just like, it's this single guy in his 30s is not doing nothing. We're talking about people with kids, families. We're moving them to another whole location. Sometimes it's like another city, but even that's different for them. That's, your kids are going to a different school, different logistics around where you're going to be living, all that stuff. I mean, it's just insane sometimes, but these companies don't. I get it. It's all about the bottom line and whatever, but it just feels like it's never about the worker.
Well, what's going to be more costly is when all these people leave, you have to hire up new people, and get them on board. And
oh yeah, they're already talking about they're making adjustments for how many people are going to wind up leaving because of this, and then how they're going to hire more people. And
right.
I get it that there's a problem sometimes of like certain positions you can't hire. They can't work from home, or they can't.
Yeah, it's not a factor of like everyone needs to work at home. I mean, yes, there are like some leadership positions or some more in studio positions or in office positions that you do need to go to, but those people have probably already been there for years.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're like used to it, or
right.
Who cares?
Yeah, or them moving is not as big a deal as QA tester number 5 that has way less money to move.
It's funny. It's funny they're bitching about QA testers because it's like most of their games have been buggy as shit.
Yeah, that too.
Like Overwatch 2 didn't launch right. Diablo 3 was a disaster when that launched.
Yeah.
I mean, StarCraft is more or less okay, I guess. But that's
and then they're trying to union bust at that.
Yeah.
So, that's not helping them either. It sucks that we're either talking about the Activision Blizzard merger thing, or we're talking about this. And I definitely think that when you see, I saw a report, some company, Uni, I think, is asking these, the CMA and all of them to consider the actual workers as well when you're thinking about striking down the merger, because that actually is a positive part, is that you're going to get these workers under a better work environment, which is much better for them in the long run, if they could definitely get that going for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Moving from there to talking about, I guess, sales, not just or making games along with, but maybe in a much, perhaps, hopefully in a much better environment. Lars Wingfors, the CEO of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos' parent company Embracer, says that Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal are going to make 5 AAA games between now and 2028.
That is optimistic and crazy.
Yep.
Mainly because Embracer is yet to make a AAA game in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, Embracer as is, right? Embracer as is.
This is totally off subject, but did you see the Saints Row news? I think it was a few days ago. That game cost $100 million to make.
Wow.
And suffice it to say, did not get $100 million in sales.
Yep, definitely not. And they keep, acquiring companies. Yeah.
Right.
So supposedly,
that is like a AAA game one every year.
Right.
Crystal Dynamics has never had the fastest track record when it comes to gaming. Like, they're working on Tomb Raider. They're working on.
They're helping Microsoft with no, not Fable, Perfect Dark.
Okay. Aren't they working on an Indiana Jones game or no?
That's Bethesda. Yeah.
Okay. I know they're working on like one other thing as well.
Well, I mean, they just got done like wrapping up Avengers, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't count. That's not like a new game.
Right. They could be working with another company as well at the moment. But the whole point is here that asking them to do this when, look at the track record, Shadow the Tomb Raider, Marvel's Avengers, and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy are the 3 games that have come out. Yeah. If we're looking at a 5-year span, right? Now, definitely, obviously, this is under a different publisher. We don't know how far in development some of these games are, but still.
Yeah, I imagine like not that far. I mean, I guess there are games that are really hidden like that. Whatever that rhythm game, the Tango Works game that you like, the
Hi-Fi Rush.
Okay. But like, you think something will leak out from now about one of their games.
Well, but like, okay, even knowing, they're working on Tomb Raider, right? They're working on
Perfect
supposedly. Well, Chris O'Donnell is working on Perfect Dark with the Initiative, I think it is, and then you have Eidos is supposedly working on a Deus Ex.
Yeah,
and perhaps might be working on Legacy of Kain. We don't know. And then we don't know what the other game is. So
it'll be a revival of Gex.
Yeah. But still, I mean, like the Tomb Raider game, who knows how long that's been in development. These other two games, like how far along did they really know about this merger or this acquisition that then allowed them to just like move shop from one studio to another, and then okay, now you're owned by Embracer, but keep doing what you're doing, whatever. Like that seems like very optimistic at the most. And then considering their track record of either you come out with games too early or you get Dead Island, which keeps getting delayed, or now it's coming out a week early to avoid Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So I just don't understand why you even, I mean, I get this is for investors, but why would you say this?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see it happening, first of all. Like, yeah,
I don't either. But I mean, they're also saying that in addition to this, they plan to release a total of 31 AAA games by March 31st, 2028. 5 of that is from Crystal Dynamics and Eidos. 8 will come from Gearbox Entertainment, which, you know, it's not just like the Gearbox games, they also publish things like that game Blanc that just came out last week. And then 11 from Saber Interactive, 6 from PlayOn, and 1 from THQ Nordic. Well, that's because THQ Nordic has like had a lot of games released recently. But yeah,
again, I mean, again, if you looked at like the whole of Embracer, like they've maybe had a handful of AAA games, like, and even that is questionable. Like I would say like the only, I haven't played it, but like I guess that Borderlands Magic game was okay,
right?
But that's
the Tiny
it.
Tina,
yeah. So it's like their output is not great, and every time they try to like, oh, this is our next AAA game, like Saints Row or like Destroy All Humans, it's like, yeah, they're nuts. Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, it seems like it's like you said, a lot of hit or miss, right? Seems like, and it's usually very mixed reviews as well. Like even SpongeBob Cosmic Shake, which came out at the end of January, that had mixed reviews too. There's a lot of people that liked it. There's a lot of people that, you know, didn't care for it all. So it's never a consistent like, oh, let's have a critical, awesome game that everybody loves from Embracer. Like, yeah, it's not really that's the case, right? It's
and even if it is,
here's
like,
these middle tier games.
Even that Tiny Tina game, like you still attribute that to like Gearbox, not Embracer. You know, it is own Gearbox at this point, so they didn't screw it
but
up.
they get to tout that Gearbox is making this game. Like, I mean, also Tales from the Borderlands, right, as well.
They didn't even they didn't even publish Tiny Tina though. So
yeah, that was 2K,
right?
Yeah, so I mean, 2K owns the publishing rights to the Borderlands franchise. Gearbox just has the rights to all the, I think, the smaller stuff, like the indie stuff that they do.
Or like Homeworld and crap like that.
Yeah, things like that. Exactly.
But again, like, so with that said, I didn't know they didn't publish it. So like, yeah, Embracer hasn't had one AAA game, let alone 31 or whatever the fuck they think they're gonna make. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's like that whole the thing Microsoft's going through right now, right? Just because you buy a lot of studios doesn't mean that they're all going to be able to make a lot of things. I mean, you've had I can't think of that Obsidian that's been awesome for them. right?
And that's their only one, really.
They're one that's been consistent outside of Playground, making Forza Horizon or whatever. And then that's a franchise that they know that they've been working on consistently for a long time. So of course they know how to do that well, right? But I mean, when you look at all the other studios that they have acquired, they're making some interesting stuff like Hellblade 2 or whatever. But okay, when is that going to come out? And what is it going to be like when it comes out? Even Bethesda's been kind of hit or miss sometimes.
I mean, that Hellblade 2 will come out. It'll probably be a pretty good critical hit, right? But I don't think it's going to be like a big commercial hit necessarily. Or it's not going to be like 6 million copies sold or anything like that. Like I'm sure if that game sells 1 million copies, they'll be happy.
Yeah, I don't know so much about sales. I think will it be this big game that people were talking about alongside, let's say, because this is the closest thing they have to, say, a God of War or Horizon, that like third-person narrative game.
Right. And no.
Yeah, it's not. So, I mean, it's also a different kind of game. Like this is more like psychological.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 6 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Which God of War, even if you like mainline that game, it still takes you about 15 hours or 20 hours.
Right. Yeah, this is something we're obviously going to be monitoring because the Embracer Group is going to keep making games. They have all these studios. Will they ever have a big AAA release?
Whether or not you want them.
Exactly. Whether you not want them, we're going to be here because they need to have them come out and do well or do decently. But hey, at least SEGA doesn't have to worry about Sonic Frontiers because apparently that game exceeded expectations on sales. And even though, it pulled a 69 to 75 on Metacritic or whatever, the fans loved it so much. Marc loved the crap out of it.
Yep.
So I told you this and you were like, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But I mean,
because they finally made a good one. So,
and they also did drop it on a sale,
right,
on Black Friday, which helped a lot, I think, too. But then they've also, like they said, they raised the price back up, and people are still buying it. So that's good. Again, like I said, with another topic that we brought up, word of mouth matters. Whether you are thinking about like having somebody tell you, oh man, I know all these other Sonic games have been bad, but Sonic Frontiers, you definitely need to go play that.
Fool me 13 times, shame on you. Fool me 14 times.
Yeah, exactly. They did say they are going to make more 2D Sonic, so I guess that's a positive as well.
See, the way they screwed up Sonic Mania really kind of irks me. Like that game was like legitimately good, and I think it did okay sales wise. And they told the developers to like the developers like, let's make Sonic Mania 2, and they told them like screw off. And it's like, what why? Are you gonna make Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episode 3 or episode 2? 3 rather. It's like no one wants your games,
Wasn't it more about that they didn't want to pay them the money they were asking to make Sonic Mania?
I mean, maybe, but also like they're worth it, or
Yeah, like I don't understand that when like you said, the first one made a bunch of money, and did well. Like people loved it. For the longest time, it was the one thing propping up Sonic as far as like, oh hey, you definitely should check this out.
Yeah,
and then Sonic Frontiers, aside from the movies, obviously, which that has really helped kind of keep Sonic in the student consciousness for global reasons. But like, this is cool. I mean, it's just one of those things like even you were skeptical because, hey, why not? All these 3D Sonic games have come out and not been good. And then this one is finally a really good one. So I'm glad to see people rewarded with buying it.
Yeah.
So they can make another.
Just don't screw up the sequel.
Yeah. And like you said, they're going to try to I guess make the sequel bigger, better, and whatever. Do you worry about that as far as like, okay, we're going to try to make it even more than the first one?
Yes, because I think they're going to try to make it better, but it'll make it worse. It'll have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
And they'll have like, oh, in this mission you can play as Tails, or in this one you can play as Knuckles, and it's like, no, don't do that. Like they're already adding like a stupid new or a new playable character in Sonic Frontiers, like DLC this year, and it's like, you are like really missing the point, aren't you? Like,
people want to play as Sonic, even though I think with the movies you might get a lot of people that really want to play as Tails or Knuckles.
Well, the problem with those games is you can't just play those characters like as Sonic.
Right.
Like they always have some stupid gimmick. Like, oh, in Sonic Adventure, you can't play Tails levels. You have to like race against Sonic, and it's like, what bullshit is this? Or like as Knuckles, you have to find the Emerald shards, and I'm like, who cares? I can't just run along and just do Knuckles shit.
Exactly. Like do things that let us play the level and do sort of like a Metroidvania thing where, but if you play as Knuckles, there's things that you can get that you wouldn't be able to get as Sonic because Knuckles can do this or that, or
that's how the old games were.
Yeah, I mean, obviously 2D, that's a lot easier to do that way than the 3D.
Right.
But I'm not a game developer. I'm not going to start requesting that they do this or that. But I think it would be a good idea to sort of implement, and it gives it a longer reason to go back and replay the games, which that's always a plus when.
Yeah.
Are you going to check out any of the free content updates or
no? Because I don't have the game anymore. But
okay.
I mean, when it goes back on sale, I may pick up like a really cheap copy. But I'll go to Whirl, or we'll see if it's good or not.
All right, well, definitely. That's again promising that Sonic did well.
Yeah,
and not branching out to, I guess, the sales in general. Here we have the NPD for January, which surprise, folks. PlayStation 5 was the highest selling console, and then also you have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was for the fourth consecutive month the highest selling game. No surprise, folks. Again, every time we say we're going to boycott something, what happens? Modern Warfare 2 sells a bunch of money. Good that Dead Space, the remake, is sitting there at number 2. By all accounts, it's a really great remake. People love that. And it might definitely be one that I will check out when there's a sale or if it comes to the EA Play thing.
Yeah.
By the end of the year. I really enjoyed the first Dead Space, the original. So
I never played them. I played the second one a little on PC, and it was like I had all the DLC, so it was like really game breaking. So I played for like a half hour, and I'm like, all right, this is kind of dumb. And then
that makes a big difference there to have that. You also had Fire Emblem Engage debut at number 5, which remember Nintendo doesn't do digital sales, so that might have actually been higher if Nintendo gets off this draconian thing that they do where they don't want to promote digital sales for some stupid reason. And Forspoken was actually number 7, which, hey, considering all the crap that game got, it's still sold.
That's not terrible, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see One Piece Odyssey make the top 10. So I was worried that game would not do extremely well when we look at usually how anime games tend to do outside of Dragon Ball for the most part. The two things that kind of aren't surprising considering what has happened with them. Last of Us Part 1 went from 36 to 11 because of the HBO show. I mean, you have a great adaptation. What's that going to do? Let's go buy the game it's based off of. We saw it with Cyberpunk. It's happening again with Last of Us Part 1. And then, of course, you get the new release of the... it got delayed, I think, to the end of March, right? The Last of Us Part 1 on PC. But you'll have that pretty soon as well. And then Monster Hunter Rise did well because, why? It got new versions, PlayStation and Xbox. The PS5 and Xbox Series versions. And then, of course, the Series version is on Game Pass. So you can go play that also if you want. yeah, good for gaming. Good to see those games doing well, and that's always positive to report on that you have that going on to miss all the other like layoffs and things like that. Yeah,
I actually did see a PS5 in stores recently, like just for sale.
Yeah, they did say that there's. I mean, they've had that ad campaign about, hey, you can go buy it now.
I mean, it was the expensive. It was the slightly more expensive model because it was $550 because you got a war with it, I think. But still,
yeah, I don't think they even release it without a game now,
right?
Because they want to sort of be able to say, well, those other regions where we raised the price, you're not really going to be able to buy it for $500 here in the U.S. either. So, that being said, like let's talk about Sony for a second before we talk about some like live service stuff. They did release their PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium games for this month, which you can actually go play the 21st of February. I'm just going to say that. We're recording this like the day before, so I don't want to say people watch it on video and then it's like, hey, go play right now. Nope, not right now. So the cool thing is if you have Extra, you can go play Horizon Forbidden West. So that means I will definitely finally check out this game. The Quarry is a game I've been waiting for because I love Supermassive. So yeah, definitely will be checking that out. Resident Evil 7, that's been on even the regular PS Plus before, but if you haven't played that yet, go check that out for sure. Scarlet Nexus is a great game. You get Borderlands 3, Tekken 7, Ace Combat 7 is pretty good. You get the two what is that, Tokyo RPG Factory games, Lost Sphere and I Am Setsuna. Forgotten City is a game you liked a lot.
Yep.
Mark. And then of course the big surprise, PlayStation Plus Premium, The Legend of Dragoon is finally on this thing. After all this time of asking, yes, you know what? I think I'm going to actually go back and replay this thing. It's been so long. I don't know.
You'll play it for like an hour and then go, this is really outdated. And then like go back to something else.
Not good. Yeah, you're not lying about that. Probably it might happen. But I have very fond memories of Legend of Dragoon. So very glad to see it's finally on PS Plus Premium. Makes that premium worth it. Wild Arms 2 is also on there, which I enjoy that game as well. And then Harvest Moon, Back to Nature. Back in the day, Harvest Moon was one of my jams. So I'm there to rip Harvest Moon as well, even though I probably won't play that, but still cool that we had those games there getting added. So that's a lot of cool stuff getting added to PS Plus. Finally, it feels like, I wouldn't say finally, but it feels like there's a lot of good stuff coming in 1 month. That's always great to see. And then coming in a couple of days, I don't know if you've seen any of these, Mark, the PSVR 2. Have you seen the reviews? Or
yeah, they're mostly okay, or mostly like somewhat positive, but like the backward compatibility thing is a huge issue for a lot of people. And it's just the price.
The price, I mean, it is again a higher end VR unit. But I think also when you're trying to get people to buy something for $550, $600, and then if you don't have the console, that's $1,200, most likely. So look at all that and go, man, that's a lot. What games are there? Oh, Horizon Call of the Mountain? Is that game really like great? I don't know. And then what else is there? Oh, a bunch of stuff that I can also get on these cheaper things that are out there. Maybe it's not as awesome looking, right? Maybe you need you have to get the MetaQuest 2, or which is also wireless, by the way. You still have to use this wire for the VR2, but I don't know. I think it's going to be similar to VR1. You're going to get a lot of people buying it.
Playing it for like a month or two and then throwing it in the closet and forgetting about it.
Or you're going to see a lot of people taking it back to GameStop and trying to get something for it, and then GameStop has to stop taking it because there's not enough people buying it. to justify.
Going to the used game stores around where I am, it's funny to see. Like, one store has like a whole bin full of like Xbox 360 Connects. It's like
they're still allowing that to be sold.
Oh, I'm surprised they're not like handing them out to people, or if you want to take it,
Well, because I mean, for one, who has a system that can play the Kinect right now? To be honest, and then, well, you do, but I'm just saying, like, I do technically, but I'm not pulling that thing out.
Right. Well, it's like, who wants to play the Kinect? That's the bigger question. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people still have their 360s, but it's like, do you really want to play? Avatar wrestling or, bullshit like that. I'm like, no.
I just think, like, to be fair, I just don't, it doesn't seem like it has this big game that I need to go buy it right now for.
Right.
Right? Like, if you really looked at stuff for games, which, how many kids or how many adults that aren't big gamers are waiting for this thing to come out and go, man, I really want to play this. And I think it's like, definitely you're going to see sales because all the hardcores that want it, they're going to buy it. But I think the people that are just PlayStation fans that are going around just being assholes on people's reviews, it's not helping. You're not really doing anyone a service by doing that. I get it that it's all about, I want to be all things Sony and PlayStation and they all got to do well and everything, but it's like, listen, if this thing does just as much or worse than PlayStation VR 1, I don't think that you're going to see this like big support for it, and it's going to start trickling down just like we saw with the PSVR 1.
Or the PS Vita.
Yeah, with the Vita, right? I think it wound up selling like 16 million or something, and then Sony very slowly, and then at times felt quickly, was trying to sunset that thing. And it's weird in an era where, yes, there's a lot of VR, but like right now would be the time for PlayStation to come out with another Vita. Like when Switch is selling like crazy and I mean, yeah, they've slowed down a little bit because obviously that system's old by now. But man, if they come out with another Vita, I think right now wouldn't be a bad time to do that. Just please don't have proprietary memory cards that are overpriced.
Right.
Like, I know you like to make the joke about the Xbox One, but I don't need the Xbox One. I can just delete stuff off of it. The PlayStation Vita one, you actually really do. So like, yeah, it'd have been cool if Sony would have actually gave it a shot, but they're more focused on this VR thing right now, and I hope it works out for them. I don't know. I think the price and not having like a big game that goes, yeah, let me go play this right now.
That's the thing. Yeah. I think it's more the price. Yeah, and I think even also the VR market has died down quite a bit.
Yeah, that too. I mean, there's a reason why Facebook had to raise the price of their thing as well, and then their whole division, the whole like gaming sort of division, like lost like 13 billion or something like that.
Right,
ridiculous number. I was like, wow.
They can't just make games. They want to make it a whole like social experience. And I say people don't want that.
Exactly.
Idiots. Like,
yep, people definitely don't want that. But hey, if you're gonna get one, please let us know in the comments. It'd be cool to have you on or have someone to talk about like what your experience is.
You can get one of those Lost Haven guys on.
I know the Outer Haven folks. There's some folks that are. Some of them are actually thinking about it. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll talk to Keith about who's the one there that's going to actually possibly buy it, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's definitely one that like I'm interested to see what the actual sales number one of being and what people are actually, if they're actually going to play this. It seems like for the most part, Call of the Mountain is not that big game that is going to get people to buy the system either, but it's going to come with the system. So
I've heard like the review for that game I read was basically like the climbing is great, the combat is terrible.
But you can also just buy the climb, and it's a similar thing.
Not on there yet, so
yeah, you can buy the climb on another thing that's cheaper. Right. So there's that. Speaking of things, I guess that you won't be able to buy for much longer, or well, I don't know, can you even buy it still? Marvel's Avengers. Their former creative director.
One of them.
Well, yeah, one of them. Virtuoso Cesar. He helped develop it. So again, don't know how many, if they wound up being creative directors. He said there was a challenging production for it not to become what it could have been. This is what he told Edge magazine. He said the decision to end development on Marvel's Avengers just a little over 2 years ago after launch, but he apologized for it nonetheless. It was challenging. I apologize for that. I guess for the game not being what everybody thought it was going to be, right? People were really hoping this would be the big like Marvel game that everybody's going to be talking about, and it quickly wound up not being that at all.
Right.
We've talked about that game a lot. It's not great when you have a higher up dev have to come out and be like, we're sorry that game is the way it is.
We're sorry that game came out.
It's like, I feel like that still is happening. It doesn't matter how much we're talking about, you need to let the games like come out when they should come out. We're still getting like Wild. I mean, I don't play PC stuff, but like Wild Hearts apparently doesn't run very well at all on PC. You had that problem with Forspoken for a while, where they're like now doing a patch. Just now, a whole year later, the Chrono Cross remaster is getting a bunch of updates after like it was not running well, I think on Switch for the most part. And so, yeah, man, we're still releasing not broken, but games that can't be playable at launch, and that's not great. It's, you know, even in this era that we're in, we're like, we should be giving them more time. Because of the financial pressures, we're giving them less time, and it's still having this issue. Like, Marvel's Avengers also just another casualty of the live service.
That's the thing.
Like,
I don't think Guardians made money. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, they said it didn't.
That reviewed well, or they somehow made a second one. I think people tried.
To be fair, it made money. It just didn't make enough money for Square-Enix, which we know how lopsided that is. Like, sorry, go ahead.
But I just doubt Marvel Avengers ever made money, or I don't think they ever like recouped their budget.
Yeah, if it would have made a bunch of money, we would have heard about it, right? Like,
right.
That's the thing, is you didn't hear about people just, oh man, I bought it. Marvel's Avengers, and the thing was, it has like bad word of mouth, so people bought it and then they were enjoying it for that first part, and then after it kind of came out and they were kind of slow to do the updates, and then
it's pretty telling that when the news got announced a few weeks ago that they were sunsetting the game, a lot of people, including myself, pine for Marvel Heroes to come back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you did say that. I remember we talked about that too. It's just sad. It sucks to see.
Yeah.
That that's where we're at with this game, to be fair. And then another game that looked like it was going to have long staying power. Last year, it was one of the most hyped and loved games and highest played games, having a one-day rise to 153,000 on Steam, and then it had like 20 million players that downloaded the game and everything. Now it's, from that peak player count, 99% drop in 7 months. Not great. I mean, to be fair,
You should mention what game it is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I said Multiverse? I swear I said Multiverses at one point. Maybe that's one of those things. So Multiverses. Should mention that they did at least have 5 characters come out during season 1 or last year. Rick, Morty, Gizmo, Stripe, and Black Adam. Then they had the Rock Black Adam as well with the movie. And then this year, since November 15th, well, that's technically last year. Last year to this year, they've only had 1 character, Marvin the Martian.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, that's very different from, like, you're going to come out with 5 characters in 1 season, and then you only have 1 come out for an entire season, and then you're going to think people are going to keep playing the game? Yeah.
I mean, the game's not officially dead yet, but they're not working on it, or, they're not.
Yeah, they're going to release a season 3 at the end of March. They had to delay it a little bit. I mean, let's see if that revitalizes the game at all.
Yeah, it's like, what do you think could help that game? Like, to me, the only thing that could really help is like online tournaments, or like
exactly
going to Evo, or
tournaments have to be talking about that game,
right?
And then also releasing more characters.
Yeah, or it's like more stuff. Like, it doesn't need to be characters specifically, but new stages, or like a single player, or.
Unfortunately, that's the problem with live service games, right? Like, the content has to meet the demand, and if you're not producing the content consistently, or making changes to make people happy, you're going to get that.
Right.
And then talk about, like, my daughter's generation of gamer, Gen Z and below, the ones that are going to come after that. They're usually playing not just one game. They're usually playing like 2 or 3, 4 games at once in this same kind of vein. And the one that's not working for them, they stop playing it. They go to the one that is working for them.
Yeah.
So, and then if that one that was working for them, none of their friends are talking about it anymore, guess what? They don't play it anymore. Or another new game comes out and that one gets forgotten. So that's the thing, is you got to keep producing stuff, and it's difficult, even with Warner Brothers money behind it. Warner Brothers, probably with all this stuff going around with Discovery and how much they're trying to cut down on expenses and everything else, this has probably been hit by that as well. Think about that. You produce 5 characters to 1 in 1 season, and then you also doesn't seem like you're bringing up a lot of other stuff, like you mentioned, giving other like modes or content or whatever. That's not going to get people to keep playing your game, unfortunately.
I mean, this is pretty old, but I think the old pinball arcade had the same problem. I mean, it wasn't free to play, obviously, but it was,
right.
They had like season 1 was like 12 tables, season 2 was like 12 tables, and season 3 was like 3 tables, and then that was it. Then support died. Like, that was it. Period. And it's like, what happened?
Yeah, it's just crazy to me that this was the game for a while last year. Aside from Elden Ring, this was like the game.
Yeah.
That people talked about. Like, and this was like, oh man, look, it could actually give Smash Bros. A little bit of run for their money, whatever. Hey, they're going to be releasing characters. It actually looks decent just looking at it from a visual standpoint. It's free. You don't have to, you can pay for the characters, obviously, or the battle pass or whatever, but it's free to start for the most part. It's something that anybody can easily see it and just gravitate towards if you like those characters. So it's just something that they had a plan here, right? Nintendo showed you the model, right? And you guys but you also don't have the gravitas that Smash Brothers has.
Well, you don't have a character. I mean, Marvin the Martian is kind of cute, I guess, but ultimately, he's not Mario, or he's not.
Well, I mean, but also even though they have those new Looney Tunes,
yeah,
how many people really know who Marvin the Martian is?
Right. Or Stripe, the gremlin. It's like, that's Sure, I guess, but who cares? Like, to most people, they're going to go like, what the fuck is this?
Right. Like the thing that also, the thing that helps Nintendo a ton, right, is the third party things now. It's like, oh, we have our characters. We can add another character from Fire Emblem or whatever. But like being able to add in the dream of Sora, what an amazing moment that was. That like when you think back at that game, you go, oh shit, they added that character in there. Like, oh, they added Sephiroth. Oh, like, wow. It's just all those characters that are in there that you go, I can't believe that character's in there. It's just Multiversus, I guess, could have that, but it doesn't have the ability to if it doesn't keep lasting.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the problem is if they don't rebound here, that dream of being able to get to the point where you could do that is just not going to happen. And it's going to keep dying slowly. So,
or until they just pull the plug on it very quickly.
Yeah,
it's going offline tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, considering it's Warner Brothers, at this point, you kind of have to worry because they are not slow at going, hey, that's it. It's not making us any more money. Let's go. And we can't really do the tax write-off, but we can sure stop from producing stuff for it. And then, of course, it goes offline because then nobody's going to play if you never produce anything for it. So, unfortunately. And we get to this point where we talk about, speaking of sales and people playing games and everything all in one story. It comes from gamesindustry.biz, which was really early in the week, so I'm sorry if you've heard everybody talk about it at this point. This is during the, I guess, stuff that comes out when we have the CMA and FTC and all that with the Activision Blizzard and Xbox purchase. Microsoft itself confirms that Game Pass, during the 12-month period that a game is in Game Pass, let's put the caveat on that, they do see a drop in sales. And then also, it's weird that he uses only one quote in the story, which is from 2018, 5 years ago, of Phil Spencer talking about Forza Horizon 4 on Game Pass. You instantly have more players playing the game, which is actually leading to more sales of the game. You say, well, isn't everyone just going to subscribe for the $10 at that time, right? And now it's $15 if you want to get the ultimate and go play this thing. But no gamers find things to play based on what everybody else is playing. Again, this is like from 5 years ago. But the actual quote that this is really taking from is in the stuff that they gave to the CMA. When it talks about like Activision didn't have a really good look on multi-game subscription services on any platform, which is why they didn't put their games in Game Pass or whatever. They believe that it severely cannibalized buy-to-play sales, particularly in the case of newer releases. And also Microsoft doesn't give you the percentage decline of what the game sales are that decline when a game hits Game Pass. So, we have one person here that is not the biggest fan of Game Pass, and then we have somebody that I'm talking about Game Pass all the time. So it's, as the person that is not the, I guess, Game Pass defender.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for your whatever.
My vindication.
I mean, it's not really vindication, but sure, go ahead and tell me.
It's a good deal to consumers if you just want to play the game. It's not a good deal to the people making the game. And it's not a good deal to like collectors, obviously, which you aren't.
Okay, but, which I'm not. Okay.
Like, I mean, like, would you rather, like, it's kind of like, when you got Netflix, did you get the DVD option, like, back in the day, or no? Or it was just all streaming?
Back in the day, yeah, because I didn't know if Netflix was gonna be around like that.
Yeah, they didn't have it. So it's like, yeah, I'm sure when you got that, like you stopped buying as many DVDs because it's like, well,
right, as Netflix started to grow, right, and Netflix at one point, like everything was on Netflix, right?
Right.
Now it's all just, oh my God, you got to subscribe to like 20 things, to the point where I've had to make decisions about what I'm subscribing to and what I'm not. Like, and you lose that content, right? So then you have to, but see I think the difference is with movies and especially music, where music it's just like subscribe to Spotify and you get every freaking thing except for like the couple of places that don't want to subscribe to Spotify. And then also you don't even have to pay. You can just watch it on YouTube and get whatever song you want. So, and I'm not trying to advocate for not paying for music. You should. I'm just saying that everybody has kind of been, even whether you like it or not, everybody has kind of, Spotify in essence saved music from going into an absolute complete nosedive. And then also you can say that the iPod and Apple Music did the same as well. But and in movies, in a way, it's just also like, people just, it's all digital, right? People wait for the thing to get to the streaming service. I'm sure Ant-Man is going to suffer the same thing where it's not going to do as well. It's also not,
it did ridiculously well, actually.
Oh, okay. But that's the thing, like, unless you're Marvel or Star Wars, like a lot of things, or Avatar or whatever, which is also owned by Disney. So a lot of that is people just kind of wait for the thing to hit streaming if they don't want to go to the movie. And especially now they're trying to figure out how to figure out a seating arrangement so they can charge you depending on where you sit, like we're at a sports game or something, which is ridiculous. But that's another topic for another day, really. I don't think gaming is ever going to be like that. I think you're always going to have the ability to buy your game. It might not be physical. Right? At some point, we might actually do the same thing that we're seeing with movies and music, where you do have to go buy a code, or you do go buy points of your whatever console, PC thing that you use, and you go buy the game there.
No, because just last week or 2 weeks ago, Microsoft had listed a bunch of 360 games for some of them. There were like legitimate reasons, I guess, like maybe licensing. Yeah. But some of them were like, why the fuck is this getting delisted? Like Spelunky.
Yeah.
It's like, what licenses in Spelunky? Or like Blue Dragon. It's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, did that actually happen, or did they? I thought they said that was an error and they weren't going to do it.
No, the error was them saying they were going to take down this whole storefront.
Oh, okay.
There were like 20 games. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're actually down.
Okay, so they're not down. What it is you can't buy them on the 360 store.
No,
you can buy them on the Xbox One.
No, you can't buy them at all. Well, technically you still can, but it was like, these games will be delisted soon. Or they gave a date of like, I think it was like the end of February or something.
Right.
Or maybe it already happened, but like some of these games were like, why is this getting delisted? Or like, what's the deal here?
Yeah.
So I mean, see, that's also the problem, is like stuff gets pulled from Game Pass.
No, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's always going to be a way to buy your game, whether it's digital or physical, because the games leave Game Pass. PlayStation doesn't announce it, but games do leave PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 is apparently going to do that in a couple of months or whatever. And to clarify, whatever you were just talking about is on the 360 store only. So I bought Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey through my Series X, and I have it there digitally. I can still buy it.
Well, you don't need to buy it. I mean, you can still play it, but you can always play it. But you just can't.
I mean,
Huh?
Well, I still have the discs actually for those, but
okay.
But still, like I bought when they were on a sale for $5.
Right.
I bought both of them on my Series X, so they're still there. I just couldn't go buy them on my 360, which I have, but I'm not going to go back. Like, I know that there's some games, right, that you can't. They're only on the 360 storefront right now.
Yeah.
But if you buy them on the 360 storefront, they actually appear on your Series X as backwards compatible, right?
Yeah.
So I guess my whole point in this is that I don't believe that Game Pass cannibalizes sales in the 12 months that a game is on there. No doubt it does. Because if I know a game is going to be there for a year, I don't really have a rush to go buy that game on day one.
Well, also in a year, you're just going to forget about it.
However, I will say that, let's say like Power Wash Simulator, right? That's on there. I do very much consider that I might want to buy that Final Fantasy VII DLC, even though I don't own the game technically. I might actually buy the DLC and to play the DLC because I care about Final Fantasy VII and I want to see what that looks like, and I like Power Wash Simulator. It's it's a very soothing game. When you just don't want to think about anything, put a podcast on and play. That's a really nice game to just put on and forget about the world. But anyway, and why not do that listening to Final Fantasy VII music? That's amazing too. But that's beside the point. Like, I think it does encourage you to buy DLC for the game because you're not buying the game. So if you want to buy something else for the game, buy the DLC, support the developer that way. And then also when the game is going to get delisted off of Game Pass, should note, there's a sale, right, that you can also buy it off of there as well. So it does encourage you to, hey, if you really like this game, it is leaving Game Pass, but you can buy it right now for a little bit cheaper price than you would pay, if you just bought it straight off our store. So, and you do have, like, we just don't see AAA developers really talk about it that much, because by the time the AAA developers put their game on Game Pass, outside of like Outriders, which they did talk about it, like say Ubisoft, other than Extraction, which that game was bad, which is why that game did not do well. Yeah. If your game is good, like Assassin's Creed, they put their game on like way later. So at that point, nobody's buying that game anymore. It's just there to get you to play it. I think it is a great like publicity. It gives you great publicity. Like Hi-Fi Rush would not have been able to be shadow dropped like that without Game Pass. Look how much people were talking about Hi-Fi Rush. And people were like loving that game. It's a critical darling, and then look at how well it did on Steam. Because what if somebody also owns an Xbox, but they prefer to play on PC? Or they have PC Game Pass, right? You can play it on the PC Game Pass, go, oh man, I like this game, I'm going to go buy it on Steam. So I think it does make people buy it on their system that they prefer to play games on. Also, don't forget that you can play the games on the cloud. You don't even actually have to download it to your system. For a lot of the games, there's some that don't work on cloud, obviously. So, like, I think that it does work in a way. It's just we'd much rather talk about the negative aspect of, well, nobody's going to buy this game now because it's on Game Pass. Well, that's not necessarily true. Like, I mean, I don't. Yeah.
Here's the old logic I'm gonna throw at you. Like, you used to like rent games as a kid,
right? Went to Blockbuster like every week.
Yeah, let's say you rented a game and you beat it. Are you gonna go buy it? Unless you like really liked it.
Well, okay, let's be honest. As a kid, I don't have income to be able to buy games.
But I mean, like, right. you're not going to be buying every game that you rented or
right. No. If it's a game that I really, really, really loved,
and they'd be like, let's say like that's one of every 6 months,
right?
That's not, and you play, you rent 20 games.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Like you said, I don't have the income, nor am I going to buy every single game that I play on there. But it doesn't mean that I won't talk about it. I won't enjoy it. Like, there's just certain games that, like, you play them. okay, let's use the logic of buying something day one compared to buying something on a sale, right? There's those certain games that I know I'm going to buy day one. What, if it hits Game Pass, great. If not, I'm going to pay that. Or, let's say Final Fantasy 16, right? That's not going to hit Game Pass at all. I know I'm buying that day one. So, but let's say something like, I'm still considering whether I want to try out Forspoken or not. I'm definitely not buying that at $70. Same thing here. If I really enjoyed that game, and let's say I fell off, I've done this. I bought Nobody Saves the World like that, where the game was going to leave Game Pass.
So
it doesn't, yes, and I bought it. Right.
You literally just said one example, that out of how hundreds of games you played in Game Pass, and I don't really buy the
because
DLC.
Some of them I don't like that much. Where I was like, okay, cool, I played it, and it's something that I'm going to talk about on the podcast, whatever. But it wasn't something that like okay, I just told you, right? If I didn't get a code for Wanted Dead, I don't think I would have shelled out $60 for that.
Right.
I would have waited till it's on sale.
Here's the thing: is you don't need a constant stream of new games either.
No, you don't. But
I mean, that's I only played Forspoken. Well, I wanted to get the platinum because it's easy, but I don't have anything else, anything new to play right now.
Right? No, you don't.
I'm okay with that. Like I played Mario World, or I have fucking 10,000 other games I could play.
No, I mean, you're not wrong about that, but it's the same thing of why streaming services exist, right? Like, if you're not giving somebody something, whether it is actually new or not, if you're not giving somebody something new to them or something old that they played that they can play, like GoldenEye, right?
That's the Netflix problem that they're having now.
I mean, that's going to be a problem for years to come because that model is not going away. So,
no, I meant like when Netflix first came out, they had something new every month, and they were constantly adding new and old shit to their service. But now, even if you like a Netflix show, it's better odds to be canceled within the first 2 seasons, and their inventory of old stuff is always diminishing because all these other new services are popping up that suck.
Exactly.
So, I mean, they don't have that problem with the Xbox because they're only EA has one and Ubisoft, but no one really cares about those ones. It's always just Game Pass, and they're tied into it too. So,
yeah, like EA is tied into it. So, eventually, probably whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year, like Dead Space will show up. Jedi Survivor will show up. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't go buy those games. Like Jedi Survivor is one that, depending on where the money is for me, that's like one of those on the line of do I want to buy day one or not. But also because there's other games coming out that month. Like again, I think we got to remember games are expensive. It's not like even movies are getting to the point where they're inflating the price of. And they do that. Why? Because especially a lot of the movies, you pay less to watch it on the streaming service.
Yeah.
So, games is so different because people want to own that thing eventually, whether it's digital or physical. If they really like it, they'll own it. If they don't care, Game Pass served its purpose of getting them to talk about the game. Giving it word of mouth, which it needs. But that's the thing. Your game has to be good. Like, your game can't suck. And just because it's on Game Pass, oh my God, let's freaking look at Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
Like, that game got huge.
Just because
it was already big. And then it's on Game Pass now. Let's inflate it more. More people were talking about it. Like, it is a great publicity driver for your game if your game is good. If your game sucks, then putting on Game Pass isn't going to do anything for you. And if you're going to say that Game Pass made it where nobody bought your game, well, nobody bought it because it wasn't good.
Right.
Right. I don't think we see Hi-Fi Rush's Steam sales go up if people aren't buying that game. Now, it didn't chart on the NPD or whatever. because I think there was a limit to the people that we also have to kind of understand, like, there's still a global gaming audience here that doesn't pay attention to this every single day, that doesn't even know. They know there's a Game Pass because they own an Xbox Series X or Series S or whatever, but they don't sit there and know every single game that drops on that service every day. They don't. Like, if their kid happens to see it or they do or whatever, like, again, they see it on that system and they play it and they go, okay, well, whatever, I played it, and they move on, because that's kind of how a lot of people are just used to consuming content now, you know? Unfortunately, especially the younger generation. Like my daughter's always asking me, hey, when is this show going to hit on this thing so I can watch it? And then never, she'll talk about it with me for a little while, and that's it. And I'm just like, yo, you can, I don't have this channel. Like, you have to wait for a while, or you can go, download it another way, whatever you want to do. But like, it's the same thing of, do we have the people that wait now for a game to maybe show up on Game Pass? Sure. But I think that's still not the majority of gamers. That's like the hardcore of the hardcore, like Xbox fan or PC Game Pass owner. I don't think it's cannibalizing this a huge amount of sales.
Well, you can tell that it's obviously doing something, because they didn't. They chose to redact that. If it was like, sales only cannibalized by 5%, they'd be like, who cares? But if it was sales are cannibalized by 70%, that's an issue.
Right, but it all depends on when your game is in there, and we also don't know if they're only talking about first party as well, or they're talking about everything that gets added to Game Pass. Also, maybe they don't want to publicize that because they're trying to get Sony. They subpoenaed Sony. They're trying to get Sony to give them information. So let's not add more fuel to the fire by just.
Again, though, if it was like a super low number, it'd be out there. So I think it's dramatic enough for them to not want it to be out there, because
maybe it's also a legal document and they really can't. Also,
no, they could. Because they specifically redacted that one. So,
right, but I agree with you. Is it big enough? Maybe. Sure, I'm not going to say it. No,
right,
but like, that's the thing, is just at this point, Game Pass is the way that Microsoft has chosen to move forward. They're going with that whole monthly active users. They're going with, they don't talk about sales of their system or whatever. Whether they're not good compared to Sony, that probably is a reason. But they have chosen to go this route because Game Pass is what's bringing them attention. It's what brings them, do I think they need to go harder on the marketing for their stuff? Yeah. I think Sony does a great job with their marketing as far as getting the Jane Q gamer to care, getting your kid to care about this game, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft is very much, TikTok and Twitter. And I'm not saying that the younger generation, my daughter's all over TikTok all the time. It is what it is. Like, I'm not saying that that's not important. I'm saying that you also need to learn to speak to a different audience. But when everything you do is digital, when it comes to Microsoft, right? They just had that. We didn't even talk about it. The whole controversy about whether Redfall is going to include a disc or not. Because Microsoft is like all in on this digital, everything's digital thing. So, because why? Because it makes it easier for people to just go, I'll just get it on Game Pass. Why not? I'll just pay the $15 to get Game Pass.
See, that's the opposite for me. I would either just buy the game outright or to say fuck off.
I get you, but you're also a collector, right? If I want to play that game, if I want to play Redfall,
if I'm not going to collect that game, but even if I don't really care about that game personally, but yeah, I want to have. I'd like to have at least if not the physical object, then the object in my collection. It's
Right.
the same thing as GoldenEye and the Switch and the Xbox. Like, you can't actually own that game.
Right. Understand.
And that's terrible.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I understand that point. Like, I totally get everybody on that point. I never thought that that's a problem. Like, that is a huge problem. Gaming has a huge problem with caring about its legacy and its games. Like, Nintendo is the first one that, when they feel like it, they will make games available, whatever, and then they do stuff like Mario All Stars, which makes no sense.
But at least that was like available to, you could buy that,
right?
Or, it was available, like.
Right, but it's still annoying that we don't have some kind of game preservation thing come from all of these publishers and say, look, these games need to be playable. Right. Obviously, some of this stuff is because they want to be able to get you to buy the game again, which Nintendo is wonderful at doing, right? They just did it with Metroid Prime Remaster. All the companies
they put in some work,
Yeah, they did some great work on that. And they gave it to you for a budget price, which is not Nintendo. Normally, Nintendo tries to upsell you on the fact that, hey, you're playing this game that you loved, pay $70 for $60 or whatever. So, I mean, look what they did with the Mario All-Stars. Those were basic ports. Those were not touched up or whatever, and they made you pay $60 for that. So, that being said, it is what it is. Like, even PlayStation, I think, has started to adopt some of the Xbox, the Game Pass stuff. I think we're going to start seeing more bigger games from Sony start coming into this earlier than, I don't know that they're always going to wait a year to put in, say, a God of War Ragnarok or whatever. Maybe that timeline gets shortened a little bit. I think they're always going to keep people guessing because they don't want people to automatically feel like, okay, it's been a year. That means I waited long enough. It's going to show up. Right.
Yeah.
But also their games get put on sale a lot. So there is that too. But I'm glad we got to have this debate and conversation here.
Sure.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we
Last of Us was good. We haven't seen it, so.
Yes, I have not seen. I saw the one beforehand.
Right.
That one was the one for the Super Bowl week.
Right.
That was something else. I was still thinking about that for a while, especially the ending. Sure. Did a great job with that. So I will say, and they keep nailing it every time with this show. So we'll see how it goes. So this is a big week for gaming. I talked about, like, this previous week, we had Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line come out, which I'm definitely getting that in a couple of days. I talked about Wild Hearts. One of Dead came out. The Shadow Warrior 3 Definitive Edition is out there on Game Pass as well if you want to go play that, or you can purchase it as a Pinball FX game, which I'm surprised you have not.
I don't like the Pinball FX series. I don't like
okay.
Yeah, because, like, you talk about Nintendo nickel, reselling shit. They do that constantly.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
The Tales of Symphonia Remaster, which is another game I have my eye on for, like, when there's a sale.
I heard that that's not good.
Oh, that sucks.
Like, they screwed up the art style. Like, they redid the art, but it made it worse. And they made the loading time a lot worse. And it's like,
oh, that's not great.
This is especially because I wanted, or a digital game. Like, what are you guys doing?
Especially, and then maybe I might go for the Xbox version then. So, because I have some of my other Tales games on Xbox anyway, so I might just go that route. Atomic Heart is coming out on Game Pass, and then of course everything else, PS5, PC, and then the older systems, everything except Switch, basically.
It's gotten good reviews so far.
Right now, it seems like it's kind of dropping as the day goes on, but yeah, it's gotten some good and bad. Like a Dragon Ishin is going to come out the same day, so I know you're excited about that. I'm excited about it as well. I did play that combat demo. Don't use the gun in that game. It's not great.
Yeah, guns are never. I mean, they're passable in earlier Yakuza games, but they're not like fun.
The katana seems to be the best thing. Even the punching seems a bit slower, but I think that's because of this game, the way it was made. Like they don't. It's supposed to be of a different time, so I think they slowed down the combat a bit on purpose. But maybe that's just me. I kind of felt like it wasn't the same as like Yakuza 0 or whatever. The whole remember PSVR 2 comes out this week, and the whole onslaught of launch games. Tetris Effect Connected is getting stuff added to it, which that's cool. Glad to see that they're still adding things to that game. A game that I know I need to see if Daniel wants to review this game, Blood Bowl 3. He's been like playing different betas and whatever for this as time has gone on. He likes that series. And
so he's the one.
Yeah, he's the one. Octopath Traveler 2 comes out the same day as Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, the 24th. And then we'll have that Destiny 2 Lightfall also basically the same day we do the next podcast. So pretty much getting into March here. Basically, we'll be pretty much there by the time we get to that next month. So yeah, get ready, everybody. We're almost getting into March, but this week is a huge release for gaming. I'm sure everybody has a game that they're looking forward to or want to play. Yeah, so until next time, go check us out either on YouTube, on Twitch, go listen to the podcast, go listen to Randy and Jens talk about the latest episode of The Last of Us, or watch Radlich and company review the Ant-Man Quantumania. Whatever you want to do, it's there on the YouTube channel. W2 Never go subscribe, or go find each of the podcasts while you're broadcasting. Chapter Select, Video Games to the Max on your podcast player, and then you can listen whenever we do an episode. So we'll be back on Sunday evening. Until then, see you later, everybody.
Later.